You are now tuned into the sounds of what black men like. Got Malik in the building.
Brooklyn.
Got Willie P in the building. Don't be scared now.
Came up from Alabama.
The #1 apex in the world. I know there's something absolutely unique about these guys.
Legendary.
Y'all know what this is. This is Mr. No Cap. World famous.
Look, nobody from Baltimore can offend me.
You're now tuned into the sounds of what black men like. Welcome back to What Black Men Like, Black Man's Lifestyle Podcast. This is yours truly, Mr. No Cap. We got some very special guests, experts on the subject, good personal friends of mine, fam of mine. So this is going to be a great conversation. So first of all, I want to start with some introductions. First, I want to start with brother Shon. Shon, can you come in here and introduce yourself real quick? Tell the people who you are.
Yeah, Shon Hyneman here. Thanks for having me as a guest. I appreciate it. I am a pre-engagement coach. I am the one you see before you buy the ring.
The one you see before you buy the ring. That's a hell of a slogan, too. We also got my peoples, Adam and Khadijah, in the building. Come in here, introduce yourselves real quick. Tell people who you are, what you do.
Well, hello, I'm Khadijah. Me and Adam have been happily married for 5 years now and together for 18. We have a 15-year-old daughter, and we met in college.
Yeah, she summed it up. Yeah.
And I cannot believe your daughter is 15. That's fucking crazy. So anyway, we about to get into this topic real quick, how you can go from being married to actually being happily married. But the first thing I actually want to start out with, there was a social media post that came out recently that talked about how most married couples meet. And they listed the top 5 places where married couples meet. And I was surprised by some of these. Top 5 places where married people meet. Number 5, bar/restaurant. That was 8%. Number 4, online, 12%. Number 3, school, which I'm guessing is college, high school, whatever, 17%. Number 2, work, 18%. Number 1, mutual friends, 32%. So just hearing those numbers and thinking about that information, like how does that compare to your life and mutual friends being number 1? Do you think that's a good or a bad thing? And I'll start with Brother Shon. What do you think about those numbers and how does that compare to your personal life?
Yes, that's pretty accurate. But I met my wife on Instagram. I slid in her DMs. We dated long distance, and we got married 6 months later. And I relocated to Texas. So a lot of times you can meet people online too. I thought that would have been number 1, but
right. I thought that would have been at least top 3. So I was surprised that was that low. So you slid in her DMs, you met her, and eventually got married, and you moved to where she was at.
Yes, I relocated, moved to Texas from Arizona.
Wow, that's a nice little story right there. Adam, Khadijah, how does that resonate with y'all?
Well, we kind of fall into 2 categories because we met in school, but we also met through mutual friends at school.
Mm-hmm.
And we became friends first, and then we started dating. I actually didn't think you really liked me for real. I thought your friend was just trying to plug you.
No, I really liked you. I was nervous. That's why I had him, giving you messages.
Oh, shit. Brittney,
Yeah.
Burna, what do you think about those numbers?
I think the numbers make sense. I did also think that the internet was going to be higher up in the rankings just due to a lot of my friends and family have met the more serious ones, Match.com, Christian Mingle. I thought it was interesting that one was a little lower, especially Instagram, Facebook Market, all that stuff is so much more popular. Now, personally, I don't really go for the DMs. I'm not like super major on social media. But I don't know. It's just not really the place I think to meet people.
You might have to start checking your DMs, Brittney Burna, because you might have your husband might be sitting on red in your DMs.
And I will say the funniest thing out of all of them, I've had more work situations than I'd like to admit.
That work being number 2 was wild to me. We did an episode on dating people in the workplace and the pitfalls that could possibly come with that. Live your life, but proceed with caution. Building off of that, there's a phrase that talks about happy wife, happy life. It's a simple phrase, but it's a lot to that. And I'm going to start with you, Shon, because you literally moved to where your wife was at. So what do you think about that phrase, happy wife, happy life? Does that ring true in your life?
No, it's not healthy. I get it back in the day because I'm old school, so I've heard that a lot. It's more like happy spouse, happy house kind of thing.
Right.
But I do believe that when you give to a woman, a healthy woman, I believe she will multiply your life times 100. So if you're all about reciprocation, I mean, you want to make sure that she's good. My life has changed dramatically just from my wife being in my life and me giving to her and pouring into her, doing more giving than taking. And it has benefited me tremendously. So I think it's happy spouse, happy house. Yes,
Adam, Khadijah, what do you think? Hey, Adam, don't get yourself in trouble, man. Just
I'm grandfather then, man. We all good, man. So don't need to worry about it. But what I think on that, I like what he said. I think the wife, as long as you handling your business as a man in the household, she's happy. And then she'll fill in the blanks. So long as you're handling your daddy stuff, your husband stuff, then she's good with whatever is going on and will grow with you. And her happiness will grow with that, and all the things that come along with that. So you handle your stuff as a husband, as a father, just the basic stuff, paying the bills, doing the manly stuff, taking her out on dates, giving them little gifts. All that stuff accounts for a lot.
So I agree with you, babe. I do and I don't. I love you though. I'm gonna say I started off happy wife, happy life type person because I didn't know no better. You know what I'm saying? Like my mother wasn't married, my grandmother wasn't married, and that just was kind of like the same.
Right.
And I think what made us change from happy wife, happy life to happy spouse, happy house is growing together. Mm-hmm. I think any real woman that loves her man, after a while, you can play that happy wife, but then it becomes selfish. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't want my man to just pour into me, and I'm not pouring back. It's a give and take. So I will say in the beginning, I kind of felt like that was the thing because I didn't know any better. And as we grew together, it was definitely like, I can't just let my man keep pouring into me and I'm not pouring back because that's, it's a give and take. So I'm kind of like both.
Brittney, Burna, would you expect that mindset from a man that you was dealing with? Happy wife, happy life mindset.
Generally speaking, I've always been on this bigger picture, this equality stance. It definitely is happy house, happy spouse because, like they said, it's a give and take. And I think the whole deal with happy wife, happy life, I think at a certain point, it was if she's happy, she's going to keep you happy. So that reciprocity is technically still there. But I like the verbiage of happy house, spouse, happy house better, just because it makes sure, it ensures that man also knows that he's equally valued and it's not just all about the woman.
Let me ask you this, Shon, building off of what Brittney just said. A lot of times, marriages are centered around the woman. And if you look at the divorce rates, the current divorce rates, there's a steady decline. I think it actually leveled out over the past couple of years, but I think that has something to do with Rona and just people being stuck together. But since the early 2000s, there's been a steady decline in marriage rates. And maybe that's part of the reason why, because, the happy wife, happy life, the idea of marriage has become centered around the woman. The man is just kind of like the accessory. So how do men start to value marriage more and start to place more, as a man that is married, like what are some of the things that you value about being married and why you would recommend that to other men who are like, nah, I'm not trying to do that shit?
Well, I think in today's culture, we live in a selfish society. Very few people are willing to give. One thing I do when I coach is I ask, why do you want to get married? And if everything is about what they can do for me, then I'm like, that's a red flag. I'm looking for you to say what you're going to give. Like I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to do these kind of things because when it's all about selfishness, that's when a marriage dies. We have to learn as men because even I was looking at some stats the other day. A lot of men are selfish in the sense of more guys are playing video games and virtual reality kind of world and porn and all these different things that's like self-soothing. So when it comes to a woman, a lot of times guys ain't really trying to deal with that because they have to know her on a deeper level and it requires more work.
Adam, what's your advice for the guys out there that's considering marriage, but they on the fence?
I don't know, because I was kind of lucky to be friends with Khadijah first. I think they play down the fact of being friends before you get into a marriage or even a relationship type thing. Really get to know that person, as a friend first. And then I think you're planting the seed there and you can grow from there. A lot of dudes, they want to hop right into the romantic thing and they don't know this person's personality. I say once you get past the honeymoon phase and every aspect, the glitz and glamour of it, you got to get to know this person.
So I guess before you even get to that stage, how do you assess whether somebody is husband material? What are the top 3 qualities you're looking for? I'll start with Khadijah.
So for me, the top 3 qualities is, like, it kind of piggybacks off what my husband said about just knowing the person. How is that person when they're not trying to get in a relationship with you? Like they're just their character, who they are as a person. Because sometimes we meet people, and if we're meeting them with the intentions to date, then they're already putting on. So for me, it's like knowing the person without actually dating them, just knowing them as a person and who they are. And if they're a good person without the sexual part, not even looking at somebody like that, to me, that's a turn on. Another thing is how they are with their family. My mother always told me, if a man don't respect his mother or respect the women that are there in his life, then you can never expect that for you. So I wouldn't necessarily narrow it down to the mother. Everybody doesn't have a good relationship with their mother, but just the women in their lives that are important to them, the women that support them. How do they treat them? Are they attentive? Are they caring? Are they loving? So that's definitely a turn on. And I know my husband loves his mom, loves his sister. So for me, that was just like, okay. The third thing is just your drive. You know, I'm a Capricorn, and I don't like to feed into like the zodiac sign stuff, but like I'm a very hardworking person, and I just don't like a lazy person. And I'm not saying that you got to meet me where I'm at, but if I'm an engineer and you a top cook at Burger King and that's your best and you doing it, that's a turn on for me, because you're doing your best. And if I'm better than you, then I'm going to help you reach higher potentials, because if I love you, I'm going to build you up.
Okay. Brittney, Burna.
To be completely honest, that was really it. The only one I was going to add was God-fearing. I like that you said drive too, because as I was thinking about what my response was going to be, I'm thinking, all right, is ambition, but I like that drive encompasses a few more things. You know, the laziness, you know, that's something that's avoided with that word. Knowing that you have goals, that's something that's encompassed in that word. And knowing that you're actually going to attempt to achieve it. So I like that word drive. So that was perfect.
Okay, so now we're going to switch to wifey material.
Wait, what were we talking about?
Man, Willie P just coming here just Willie P has obviously finished his ham sandwich, so he back on the show now. They just answered the husband material question. Now I'm gonna switch to the top 3 wifey material qualities that you look for or seek in a woman. Start with you, Willie, since you just jumping on.
3? It's not even 3. It's only one thing. Be a wife. That's it. Don't expect me to marry you and make you a wife.
You couldn't give us no adjective.
Y'all mute yourselves while I'm talking. How about that? Now back to what I was saying. Exactly. You be a fucking wife, all right? I think too many people take that shit for granted, and too many people are expecting for somebody to marry them to fucking make them a wife or make them a husband. That's not how it goes. I'm not looking for a woman that I can make my wife. No, I'm looking for a wife that will be my wife. All right. It's kind of like saying, hey, you know, look, you go into the NBA and you expect for them to make you a basketball star. If you were a basketball star in high school, the NBA will find you. It's the same thing for a fucking wife. If you are a wife and you produce those wife-like qualities, a husband will find you. Trying to say, hey, you know, look, take me down to the courthouse, make these vows and shit like that, then I'll be a wife. That shit is silly as fuck. Right, I think it's a tad bit fucking immature for somebody to do that, all right? Especially if you're saying, hey, you know, look, you want a God-fearing man. What does the Bible say? The Bible says the man who finds a wife finds a good thing. Try that shit on the fucking job. Like, no, I don't know anything about this field, but when you hire me, I'm going to learn. All right, they'll laugh your ass out of there. How could it be any different for a marriage?
Let me go to Shon.
No. Don't cut him off and don't go to Shon. Guess what? This nigga still ain't tell us what his wife is like. All them damn words and ain't said shit.
You ain't said a motherfucking thing. Shon.
Yeah, I said a lot.
You said a lot, but you didn't answer the question.
I want to come back to that, but I want Shon to answer that question because I think he's going to actually answer the question. Top 3 qualities in a wife.
Y'all. How about that shit?
For the first one, for me personally, I know it sounds cliche, but their relationship with God outside of me, right? Not when we get together. I need to know if you got that personal relationship with him outside of me. I always tell people it's best to marry somebody who loves God more than they love you. I think that trait is important. The second one is, how do you treat people who can't do nothing for you in return?
Yeah, that's a big one.
My wife has a heart for homeless people. She hates to see kids hungry. Like, she just got a heart the size of Texas. So I'm like, if she has a heart for strangers, how much more would she have a heart for me? Third one is stimulating conversations, like that emotional intelligence kind of thing, that mental piece where we can have those stimulating conversations where we can read books together. My wife and I, we dated long distance. We used to read books together, and I found out so much about her just through reading books. So I got to have that mental stimulation piece. Documentaries, books, psychology, spirituality, all that other good stuff.
I know you kind of talked about them together, but do you think that one could be super smart emotionally, but not that book smart, and vice versa?
Well, you know what? Good point. There is a difference. Emotional intelligence is something different. That requires that mental piece where if I'm talking to you, you're not being defensive or you're not using your emotions against me to get what you want.
Right.
Thinking on that emotional intelligence piece, like to me, part of emotional intelligence is how you handle when your partner does something that might be considered embarrassing. So if you're in a situation with in your marriage where your wife or your husband does something in public that is embarrassing, how do you navigate that? And I know everybody's been in that situation before, but in a marriage, you can't just say, fuck it, I'm out. Adam and Khadijah, you don't have to give a personal example, but just how do you navigate a situation where the other person is doing something embarrassing and you might have to, in quotation marks, you might have to check that person?
There's this one incident that always sticks out with me where I damn near lost everything and it was on account of me. I mean, I can't really say I've been in that position. She ever put me in that type of position where she embarrassed me. But when alcohol and things get together, I totally embarrassed her. I almost ended our relationship one night at one of her best friend's beautiful wedding. I was just way out of pocket. I bring it up now. She don't even bring it up, but I bring it up because now we can kind of laugh about it. But back then, that incident really almost ended our relationship. But I guess she could speak more or less on that.
I'm gonna say how you deal with those situations. I'm gonna say in the beginning, I was very immature, and I mean, we kind of moved more with emotions. So in the beginning, it was like, attitude and doing that. But over time, as you grow and you learn, I think communication is the key to how to deal with that. Like if you deal with embarrassing situations or situations that make you uncomfortable, make sure you express that to your partner. I think the biggest problem with people is that they don't communicate effectively and they expect people to just guess what makes them mad or guess what bothers them or when they're mad at a certain time, like something might be good today and it's not good tomorrow. So I think if you communicate with your partner and let them know that, then I think it would make the situations better. So the next time they know and they don't have to guess that makes you mad.
That's fair.
Brittney, Burna, Willie P, how do you handle public embarrassment with somebody that you love, that you married to, or on that level?
I mean, yeah, it just becomes a complex communication situation. Not only do you have to be able to communicate why you're in discomfort, but you also have to find a way to de-escalate whatever that might be. And I only say that because of the example you gave over there. But, because when alcohol gets involved, things get a little sticky.
Right.
I think Willie P has said protecting somebody in public and checking them in private. Am I paraphrasing? Did I get that right or no?
Punish in private, praise in public. But I think in an embarrassing situation, that don't really apply. You got to check that situation immediately. What I like to do, my method in that is to deal with those situations before they occur. However, there are some times where people get caught up in the moment. They get caught up in the attention and they do some shit that's unbecoming or, outside of the norm and shit like that. It happens with men and women. So what I like to do, right, is I tell her, I say, hey, look, this is what you did. This is why it was wrong. And in the future, this is what you should do if there is something else that they can do. Or you need to chill the fuck out right now. And if they don't, then okay, cool. Then I just remove myself in that situation. If you want to stay here and embarrass yourself, you go ahead and you do that. But I'm out.
Shon, as a counselor, how do you advise people to handle those situations?
Yeah, that can be challenging because like you all were saying about with the alcohol and stuff like that, a lot of times it's really about not feeding into it. I think it's when you take the time to just like sit back, you add fuel to the fire when you like go toe to toe with them. When you have them kind of, and I'm throwing on my air quotes, like looking stupid, they have a tendency to calm down because you're not feeding it. It's when people buy into it and everybody's going back and forth. I think that's when it continues to escalate. And like one of you were saying about the home life, that's something that I've learned over time too. It's like, and I'm using this as an example, if my wife is calling me out on the carpet, say it's something that she want to address me about in my own personal life or something I need to tighten up, I'm not going to be defensive or stonewalling. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to listen and be receptive because she already upset. So if I take the time to listen instead of doing that same dance, because she know what I'm going to say and we're going to continue to argue, I break the dance by just listening and be receptive because now she got to use a different strategy because she's used to us arguing.
Right. I think the term is active listening, understanding how to actively listen to somebody.
Not listening to respond.
People talk about that shit all the time, but they're not really doing it.
A lot of people don't know how to do that shit.
sometimes it's hard. We all have things that trigger us. Because, like, when you first started dropping the story, I was like, I remember an embarrassing situation. I got the fuck out the car and walked home.
You know what?
But I'm not there no more. I'm better than that.
And that was an isolated incident. It was so crazy that all it took was one time.
The fact that you said it was so crazy, they know it ain't a repeated offense because we're here.
Yeah, we here. My man, Willie P, we got married in the courthouse. That's all I want to say. So courthouse marriages do work. So I had to just throw that back, you know.
I want to throw the flag. All right, I'm going to throw the flag on the field because what just happened is an example of what Mr. No Cap was talking about, where people are listening to respond. Now, I didn't say that anything was wrong with a courthouse marriage. Not at all. I got married in the courthouse. I'm not married now. All right. So I didn't say that there was anything wrong with a courthouse marriage. What I said was, is something wrong when a person comes to you and expects for you to take them to a courthouse to make them a wife instead of being a wife before they even get there. That's what I said. And that goes for men and women. You can't expect for a woman to try to make you a king or try to respect you to be something, respect you as something that you are not producing.
I agree with that. That kind of leads to the money conversations because I think the number one reason for people splitting up is over money. So I think when you go into it with a fairy tale mentality, you asking for trouble. So, Shon,
Right.
what do you think about the whole courthouse situation versus the big marriage situation? And do you think it actually sets a precedent?
It really depends on each couple. I mean, even with my wife and I, when we got married, it was like 4 of us. It was the pastor, the photographer, a witness, my wife and I, 4 or 5 people. But I think with small weddings, I think it's more focused on like the meaning behind marriage. I think when you have really big weddings, it's for the show opposed to the actual marriage. People are a little more intentional maybe when they do go to the courthouse or if they have a smaller wedding, because there's so much behind that. If you do a smaller wedding, I do believe that it can last longer. And I would like to do some more research on that. So
Yeah, I think there's something to it in terms of like money. How do you handle disagreements around money? And what do you think in terms of like bank accounts, joint bank accounts, stuff like that? What is your thought process when it comes to how you navigate money in a marriage?
Just to kind of go back before I answer that, like money just being a number one cause, it definitely is. Especially with me and Adam being together since we was 21 and now we almost 40. So we definitely done been up and down on the money scale.
Oh, y'all old.
Come on, don't do that. You got me though.
You my old head.
But
I'm younger than I'm young. Don't do that.
I'm saying that to say like at 21, the way you manage money and the way you manage money at 40 is totally different. So, we had to grow and learn how to manage money. And that was definitely a problem. I could say looking back, a lot of our issues in our marriage were, I would say it was other things, but I would say that money would intensify those things. As far as like the joint bank accounts and all that, I mean, that's the traditional stuff. And I hear you. I don't really care about that type of stuff. I mean, my money is your money is mine. If you need it, you need it. We don't have a joint bank account. I don't really care. If I need something or I ask for something, he give it to me and vice versa. So I never really put too much emphasis on that. But definitely like just handling a part of the money is very important.
As long as you handling your responsibility, we don't
when
really.
You're not, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, then we going back. When you not, like when them lights go out, like hold up, let's go back to this table. What did you do on your end that you can't do this? And we hold each other to that. So there's no joint accounts and nothing like that. Like Khadijah said, I trust her, she trusts me. You gotta have some type of individualism. Everything can't always be all locked in and everything. So
Now, Willie P, Shon, as men, do you feel like you need to keep your money separate, or do you feel like the joint account is a good thing?
You know what? Be honest with you, if you sign up for something, then you should be able to sign up for that shit fully. All right. If you marry a woman, you can't trust her with your money or your bank account, then you need to reevaluate why you married her. Just as for me, I don't care if she make more money than me, not at all. If she make $1 and I make a dime, then guess what? We got $1.10. What are we gonna do with our money, right? Well, I noticed that a lot of times what ends up happening in these relationships is when it comes to money, it's because somebody is absorbing too much pressure and the other person is getting too much disrespect. Money is just an outlet, right? It's never just the money. It's about what comes as a result of the lack of money or a result of the control of money. That's what ends up being the problem.
Money is used as a tool of manipulation. Like, oh, you a broke ass nigga, you ain't got no money, or I got all the money, you gonna do what I say.
That's corny.
And they got into the relationship with bad intention. If they come in like that, they in there with bad intention anyway. They want to control everything so they can do what they want to do.
Shon, have you seen that in people that you counsel, like money being the main issue or big issue?
I think if you talk about those in the infancy stages of dating, I once heard someone say your relationship with money is based on your relationship with people and other relationships. So I think if you have that conversation early and being honest about, are you a saver or are you a spender? Because money habits can change, but it's very far in between that people change when it comes to making financial decisions. I think it's about having a conversation early, and having separate accounts is cool as long as you have, like, my idea is if you have a joint account where you pay all your bills, and then you can have your individual accounts because that still gives you that individuality as a person. So that's my whole theory.
Now, Willie P, I know you had put out feelers to the audience. I think you got some questions back for this conversation.
Okay, yeah, we do. We have like 3 fan questions, actually. So the first one is from Pedro. Pedro wants us to define what is happy and what is a marriage. And then, what do you define as happy marriage?
Okay. So, yeah, Adam and Khadijah, happiness. What does that mean to you?
State of mind to me, like, being at your optimal state of mind, body and soul. To me, that's what it is.
Yeah.
What about marriage? And marriage is a union.
Yeah,
so
marriage is a union.
A happy marriage is being able to be in a union with somebody and still be at your optimal state of mind and not have that person where that you can be fully yourself, explore, communicate. I mean, just be yourself and still be connected to somebody. Because a lot of times people get married, they got to change a little bit. This person might not like this. So if you could fully be who you were before you were married with the person you were married to and be friends with them, that's a happy marriage to me.
They say marriage is 50-50, but it's really 100-100. And it's for that, if that's right there and you can be 100% you, flaws and all, 100% her, flaws and all, and y'all can grow and compromise and understand and communicate, which is number one.
Happy marriage.
World, happy marriage.
Man, cooking right now. That was fire to me. That kind of summed it up. But y'all got anything to add to that? Shon, Brittney, Burna?
No, that was great.
All right. What's the next one, Willie?
The next one is from Brandy T. Brandy T says that much of marriage is about the art of pre-work. So what do you believe, or what form of pre-work is vital before you get married?
That's Shon. You perfect for that because that's what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting that question came up. One thing I ask people is tell me your favorite childhood memory.
Ooh.
And you'll be surprised how many people can't come up with one. And that's an indicator that you might not be enough for that person.
God damn. That hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. You got to say that one more time.
Yeah. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't articulate it, then that means that they might have a block there that they haven't gone through yet where they shouldn't even be in a relationship. They need to deal with that.
Exactly.
God damn.
That's real.
Having a favorite childhood memory is like, as a child, that's like magical.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you couldn't be happy when you had no responsibilities and no worries and no stress. How could you be happy now?
Yeah.
Right. Brittney Burn, I think you were saying something on that too.
Oh, no, I was just saying, you're right. When people haven't addressed their childhood traumas, oftentimes they're, not fully able to properly love. I think, didn't we have a conversation where we were talking about if you were neglected by your parents and, you're trying to love, you might do things like be overly clingy or, you just come up with these different things that you kind of internalize. And if you haven't addressed and worked on those things and done that internal work, then no, it's not going to work.
Right. You're operating at a deficit and you're constantly looking for that person.
Right.
Filling those gaps. And
Right.
you eventually end up draining them. Now you just in a fucking trauma bonding. You're just bonding over traumas and y'all not going nowhere. Y'all going backwards. Willie P, I think we got one more question from
Right. The actual last one is 2 questions, but I'm going to wrap them up in one because they're kind of related. It's from Devon and Sean. Devon is asking about how we feel about black men marrying women from overseas. Sean is saying how do we feel about black men seeking women outside of the country because they can't get the proper respect from a woman in this country.
Passport bros. Always talk about passport bros.
I'm down with it. I support it. This is what I said.
Yeah.
I support it because if you feel like you can't get what you deserve here or somewhere else, if you're in a house, somebody invites you to their house and then you go there and they disrespect you. They're being extremely fucking disrespectful. Do you stay in that disrespectful scene when you have the opportunity to leave and go somewhere else? I would say no. And if you make money, if you go to work 10, 12 hours a day, you make your money, however much it is, you make your own money. When you go out and spend it, you want the best service. If the person at the counter is giving you some trashy ass, disrespectful service, and then the product is subpar, you would tend not to go there anymore. So if you as a black man, white man, whatever, right? If you feel like you can't get what you need or deserve here, then okay, I absolutely support you going to where you feel like you can find that thing. And question for the panel, why do people have a problem with passport bros, right? If this man is if he's spending his money, why is it a problem?
I don't have an issue with it. It's up to the individual. I will say this, though. Regardless if you find somebody overseas or on Jupiter, there you are. You know, you can't run from yourself. I don't care if you go to Zimbabwe or you go to Venus. Your real self is going to show up.
On an individual level, I'm cool with it. I don't like the movement of trying to project on the other men your reality. Your reality is you can't find nothing here. That's not my reality. I do well here.
As a female, I personally don't care, but I'm not gonna say females don't. Like, you see girls, oh, why they want to go overseas? They want to mess with these foreign women. I feel like the ones that don't, it's low key hate, and that's hard for women to say. It's low key hate. As far as me, I mean, look, if your money is your time, do what makes you happy. Because
Exactly.
I wouldn't agree with you staying here with somebody that you hate just because it fits the script. So
I agree
Let's
with
go.
everybody. Like, you got one life to live. So you shouldn't be giving a damn what nobody else thinks about going across seas, across the street, But now one thing to play, the other side is that, I think a lot of guys, a lot of black men already got the thing that black woman is hard to communicate with. They hard to deal with. So I'm just going to skip all that shit off the jump. I'm going straight over there. I ain't even got time for it because I'm trying to be in control of my situation. I want to be treated a certain way. I want to be talked to a certain way. And maybe across seas is where it's going to happen. Or they think, a lot of men don't like to be challenged.
Right.
And on any level in a relationship. It's a control thing. And also that's a confidence thing with a man. They got to control something. So, nigga, if you want to go over and get your girl across the sea, go ahead, row your boat over across the sea and get your Spanish girl, man.
That's fucking shit.
On the surface level, I agree with it. On the underlying level, you paying for pussy. You paying for pussy.
Well, I have a friend, Mr. No Cap. We know this person mutually. But anyway, this certain individual went out the country, dealt with certain woman in another country, and he said from that day forth, he cannot deal with any American woman, period.
But he paying for it when he over
But he paid for it. But he's, I don't know what happens in them hours or them few days where he feel like, it's over for American women. But, that's another topic for another day.
So y'all know that the passport bros movement, that started from the MGTOW movement. The MGTOW movement is white men that were fed up with white women. And that's where the passport bros thing started from. It didn't start with black men being tired of black women. It started with white men being tired of white women.
That's a
It doesn't
fact.
get publicized like the other way around, but yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. They always try to trash black men. Black men start doing something that white men do, and they trash black men for it.
That's a whole nother episode too.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, definitely.
The last thing I wanted to get to is I want to talk about the admiration that we have for each other. There's a lot of times there's a separation narrative, but I think we have a lot of admiration, and that's different from love. We know we love each other, but admiration is something different. Adam and Khadijah, real quick, give me one thing that you admire about each other.
The one thing I admire about my husband is he loves my good, but he really loves my bad. And he makes me feel dumb sometimes about having attitudes about certain things. He doesn't take me seriously, and he definitely has matured me mentally.
The thing I love the most about my wife is that she's self-made from the ground up, from the dirt, go-getter. She created this person that she is, and I've been telling her since, 2005 that I'm her biggest fan, and I mean it. I sat back like a fan in the audience and watched this woman grow basically by herself and make a self-made way, and I just couldn't be more proud to be her husband, straight up.
Wow.
That's what's up.
Shon.
Y'all looking at each other smiling.
Somebody gonna get some tonight.
Oh yeah. Shon, real quick, what do you one thing that you admire about your wife?
I think it's her commitment, man. Her commitment to our marriage, to our family. Like, if I got into a fight, my wife will help whoop somebody with me in all ways, shape, form, or fashion. So that's one of the traits I really love about her is her commitment to me and to our family.
I think that's a great way to end it. I'm gonna let Adam and Khadijah come in here real quick. Tell us where we can find you.
All right, guys. So we have a podcast called Jokes with Facts. It is currently live on Facebook. It's coming to YouTube platform. It'll be on Spotify platform soon. So check us out. Jokes with Facts.
Jokes but facts. We going live right after this podcast.
Dope. Appreciate y'all coming on. Shout out to both of y'all. Also, shout out to Adam. He's the producer that did the intro and the outro. He did the beat for both of those. Shon, can you come in here and tell people where to find you?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. You can find me on all podcast platforms. Just search Scary to Remarry. Scary to Remarry. You can type that in, and then my website is scarytoremarry.com.
Scary to Remarry. Okay.
I know that's a hell of a title too. I'm gonna send some people to you, Shon, because I know a lot of people that need your services. Yes.
Some of them on this panel.
So yeah. Anyway, look, what Black Men Like, best podcast in the game. We did it again. We out here, y'all. Deuces.